Hey everyone, welcome back. This is an exciting show I look forward to doing every month, and that is bringing Bryan Lebo, the man from Vegas, back to the show. How you doing, Bryan?
Good. How you guys doing?
Oh man, it's going awesome. Again, Vegas is one of those markets that I'm going to look forward to reaching out to you the first of every month, going, all right, Bryan,
Yeah.
what just happened? So first, introduce yourself to my audience in case they haven't watched the other 3 or 4 episodes, and then let's get into the numbers.
All right. Well, guys, my name is Bryan Lebo. I've lived in Las Vegas for 30 years. I've been in real estate for about 16 years. I've been the top 1% of all realtors for well over a decade. I've worked with 8 banks and asset management companies, handling their distressed property portfolios. I was flipping properties before there was television shows. So when it comes to the residential component here in Las Vegas, I'm pretty well acclimated. And I more or less made my name for myself years and years ago by predicting market. So market indicators, the analytics, following what's going on, both from an analytical level where we try to look at the actual numbers and then try to interpret whether or not these numbers are indicative of what's actually occurring and what will occur. Sometimes it's relevant and sometimes it's not at all. It's relevant and reflective of the past, which is one thing that I'm sure we'll discuss at that appropriate time. So I've been coming on your show now for a few months since, Vegas seems to be one of the precursors to what may or may not be a disruptive market moving forward. So here we are.
Yeah.
And funny story. So yesterday was literally the first time that I've actually really gone out to a bar in, like 4 months here in Vegas. No particular reason, but yesterday was the first time a buddy of mine that we grew up with, he was here. We went and grabbed drinks, had a great time. And literally, I don't know if you saw the news
I
today,
did. I did.
but literally we're at the bar. It's the first time I've been to a bar in 4 months. And while we're sitting there at the bar, all of a sudden there's commotion. My phone blows up. I look at my phone. I'm getting alerts from everyone. So the governor just basically shut down all of our bars. So kind of apropos that I was at a bar when we shut down bars. So yeah, I think later today I will be at the bar because it closes at midnight.
There
So
you
I'm
go.
going
You
to
got
get my
one more
last
day,
fix.
huh?
Yeah. But, in talking about the economy and in talking about real estate moving forward, all of these aspects are very interconnected, right? I
Mhm.
mean, if you shut down bars, if restaurants go by the wayside, if tourism hurts, that affects our local economy, which has a direct correlation to the housing market.
Yeah.
So, what we've been discussing and what we've been aligned with is that things are not as good as they initially appear, you
Agreed.
know? So that's one of the things that we'll kind of discuss is this is this whole year has been bizarre,
Yeah.
but this moment in time is just absolutely just freaking insane.
It's
Like
it's
this
bonkers,
is
man. It's like everything's going the wrong way. Like, what the heck?
Yeah, I mean, it's like I think the only thing like that is like Apple stock, where they can announce the greatest profits of all time, and then the stock goes down, and you go, "Well, that doesn't make logical sense," but there's some logic somewhere.
Yeah.
That's kind of where we are. The market's on absolute fire,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. So listen,
depends.
instead of stealing the numbers, which we'll get into in a minute, I'm curious as a top 1% broker, are you
Mm-mm.
seeing and feeling and getting the phone calls? Is your activity up like the
Yes
numbers we're
and
about to?
no.
Okay.
I mean, yes and no. I mean, for me personally, it's a little bit different. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm fielding calls and having interest from out of state buyers. But the reality is, I'm very much on the record as stating this is the worst time to buy. And I don't see a point or a purpose in buying. So the reality is it's you can't publicly have a position where you're saying it's a terrible time to buy and then field a call from someone and go, oh no, you definitely got to
Yeah.
jump in. It's on fire. So, I mean, to a certain degree, things are affected in my business simply because I'm trying to be honest with people as far as what I believe to be the right or wrong thing to do.
Yeah.
Obviously, I do have plenty of properties in escrow.
Mhm.
I put in a $1.2 million deal. That one was different. They've been looking for like almost 2 years. They're very, very picky. This was the exact property that they want to raise their family in, and they have no desire ever to sell this property.
There you go.
And at the end of the day, is it the greatest time? Is it a wonderful decision? No, it's not the best, and they know that, but they're okay. And
Yeah.
for people in specific, situations or positions, as long as you know what you're getting into, then who am I to tell you what to do?
Oh yeah.
I mean, I overpaid for my house when I bought it, and 13 years later, I could care less because I'm gonna die in this place. Hopefully not soon, but sometimes, if I
Yeah.
were to sell it, someone would overpay. But
Yeah.
in general, no, it's not the time to buy. So a lot of my buyers are just getting antsy because they see everything going on, they're hearing everything going on, interest rates are low,
Yeah.
and so it's a little bit difficult to try to temper everyone's excitement,
Yeah.
but I think it'll pay off come next year.
And that's what attracted me to your channel, because before I reached out, I must have watched 50 or 60 of your videos, and it was you're willing to be a broker that says, you know what, today might not be a good time to buy. Not many brokers would do that. Some brokers, as you know, will always say it's a good time to buy, and that's what attracted me to you.
Yeah,
So
and it just depends, as
yeah,
from an agent perspective, we are supposed to be in sales. I don't particularly treat my job as though I'm a salesperson.
yeah,
I really don't. I'm here to provide options and let you know what you're getting into.
yeah,
You're a big boy. You can put on your big boy pants and make your decision with good information.
right.
So, yeah.
Well, let's
So, anyways,
look at the bizarro numbers, because when you sent them to me on
okay.
like the third or fourth, I'm like, this can't be right. All these numbers can't be right, but I guess they are. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. What it is. I don't
Well,
know what to
actuals are
say, but
actuals. That's the beauty of it. Yeah.
yeah. So, so first, okay, so maybe we'll go over here. I'll share the screen and
Yep.
we can go over some of these analytics. Okay.
Yep.
So, all right, here we go. All right. So, can you guys see the screen now?
We can. Yep.
Can you see this? Okay. So, if you look over here, try to scroll this a little bit. So, you can see here is this year's sales. So, one of the things that we've discussed tremendously is the fact that a lot of times when you see last month's numbers, that doesn't necessarily have any bearing or indication on where we're at or where we're going,
Right.
because last month's numbers reflect closings, which means those closings went into escrow multiple months ago. So
Yep.
you're looking 30, 45, 60 days out.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever happened last month, which, what are we, July? So June was indicative of April and maybe May.
Yep.
So if we look at it, we definitely had the recovery, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we came out of quarantine, I think, beginning of June, like 1st of June. So we had a month of real activity going on.
Mm-hmm.
So we're kind of getting back on track. So first, let's look at the sales. You look at the sales and you can see we sold 2,200 homes last month.
Right.
So, I mean, it's a 44% increase over the previous month,
Mm-hmm.
but the previous month was reflective of basically the entire duration of being quarantined.
Yep.
So a big increase, but you can see we're still down 17% from where we were last year. So I would say
And
that,
Bryan, real quick again, is the top row 2103? Is that January?
yeah. So that's going to be January.
Yeah. So January was
so I mean, you can,
pre-COVID, right?
yeah. And I mean, you can see here in March, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, we sold 2,500 homes.
Yeah.
Pretty solid. I mean, we were trending up. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
year over year, look at this, 25% up, 27%. Then we slid in March to 6%. But I mean, you can see we were performing fantastically. I mean, the way the market's performing right now is
Yeah.
very much what we were doing prior to COVID.
Yeah. And I'm just looking at 2018 and 2019, January versus June. And while we're about flat for 2020, if you look at January to June in 18 and 19, you grew 50% roughly.
Right.
Right. So,
And that's pretty normal. That's pretty normal. Those summer months, we usually rock around 3,000 sales.
exactly.
And, our bad months tend to be around 2,000. That's pretty much how we trend.
Yeah.
So from a sales standpoint, I would say, yeah, it's about what should have been and about what to expect. I think this month is what's going to be crazy.
Okay. All right. Well, that'll be interesting. Okay. All right. So that's
So
transactions.
now,
100.
so I mean, if you look at it, technically we were down 17% in sales. In a normal world, when you're down in sales, that's probably going to mean that since your demand was low, probably means that your prices sag. But here we go. We finally broke the record. We finally have broken through the plane. I think our record was $318,000, and that was back in 2007. So we finally broke through that. So coming out of COVID, we managed to break our all-time high ever in Las Vegas with a median price of $325,000. So
That is just
even with
stuff.
COVID, even with everything, you can see we're compared to where we were last year, we're up 8.3%.
And I got to just tell you, I saw that number and I have no explanation. I don't get it. I mean, really, I just don't get it.
So one thing I really want to show is, let's look at the inventory, because this is really, really where things get a little interesting. I'll try to slide this over a little bit for us. All right, here we go. So if we go right here, March 11th, you can see that was when we went into quarantine.
Okay.
And you can see, look, I mean, all the red indicates a decreasing
you were trending
inventory.
negative. Yeah. Okay.
So you can see as our market was on fire, our inventory was just plummeting to the point that right before quarantine, we were down to 4,200 homes. Now, at that time, we're trending around 2,000 homes. So back then, we had like a 5-week supply of inventory. So now you see the first week of quarantine, boom, we plussed 373, plus 600 2 weeks in, by the time everyone had the ability to talk to a realtor, get their house listed. Right. So you could see, I mean, we just crushed our inventory, and it continued pretty much through the quarantine. Then we kind of plateaued off here. Yeah. And then as we saw that we were going to come out of quarantine, and then look, here's the takeoff. Now we're dropping 41, 117, 180, 300, 106, 202. And as of this week, we dropped 115.
Can you scroll down a little bit? The last row we see is June 10th. I think those last rows we were missing.
Oh, okay. Can you see these guys?
Now I can. Yeah.
All
There we go.
Sorry, I can't see that.
No.
So I mean, you can see right here.
Yeah.
You can see now. I mean, our inventory is rapidly decreasing. So what I did is, I mean, real quick, you can see since COVID, our inventory is actually still net positive, almost 20%. But now let's look at the real number. Can you see this on the screen?
The last record we see is 5042.
Okay. Yeah, so 5042. So as of right now, we've got 5,000 homes on the market.
Okay.
Well, if we're selling 2,500 homes a month, and normally we would be selling 3,000. So my guess is this month, next month, we're going to be kicking 3,000 numbers. Yeah. So if we're going to sell 2,500 to 3,000 homes a month, technically, if you look at this, that is a shortage of inventory.
So
we literally have less than 2 months.
So it's amazing to me. While Vegas was very different than the other markets I talk about, because it spiked with listings like you showed earlier. Mm-hmm. No other market did that I can recall. I'm sure there are some, but I don't recall any. But now you're already chewing up that inventory and spitting it out, going, you have a supply problem. You have a supply problem.
I mean, it's a classic supply problem. So I mean, in a normal world, when you have less than a 2 month, I mean, the rule of thumb is 6 months, right?
Yep.
So the rule of thumb is a 6 month supply of inventory creates what's so-called a balanced market. I would disagree and say it's about more like 4.5. Yeah, 6 months, I've seen 6 months, and 6 months doesn't perform.
Yeah, 6 months doesn't feel good.
It just doesn't. No, it doesn't feel good, at least not here.
Yeah.
So now that we have less than a 2 month supply, it's tight. It's really, really tight. So I'm already seeing, properties that were sitting for a long time, and now all of a sudden there's multiple offers. Yeah. So, I mean, not everything is going, but the one metric that I started following last month for the first time, I'm so glad I did it, because as we start increasing here, let me share the screen again for this one, because this, I don't know if you really looked at this one.
The one by price point?
Yeah. So remember this? Can you guys see that okay on the screen?
I spent a lot of time on it. Just so you get a level set, we see from the title down to in contract is the what we see.
So let's get rid of the title. Can you guys see this now?
Yep, there we go.
So this was last month, and this is this month. So what these numbers illustrate is how much saturation levels. So you can see under $250,000 for homes last month, 47% of homes on the market were already under contract. So that shows you how high the saturation level is. If you're looking for a home under 250, almost everything. Half of the homes were gone then.
Wow.
You can see in just 1 month's time, we went from 47% to 56% saturation.
Yeah.
That's in 1 month, that is huge. So you can see that, in the real world, homes come up and then they go right out of contract.
That's
So there's
amazing.
not a lot of availability. Now, I mean, look, so I mean, that was a big jump, right? And
Yeah.
now look at this. From
Jesus.
250 to 500, you go from 39 to 51%, a 12% increase in 1 month of saturation.
Yeah,
And
and
then
that's
once you start,
and you have more on the market. Check about that. Not only do you go
yeah,
up to fit the inventory is up. It's not like you have some mathematical inventory is down. No, inventory went up and we still rose 12%.
yeah, it's just, yeah, exactly. So,
Jeez.
and then, so it gets interesting because, you tend to think that when we're dealing with these issues, more sophisticated buyers are going to be looking at things a little more analytically and be less apt to just jump in, as opposed to on the lower end, you have less sophisticated buyers.
Yeah.
But I mean, look, even here, 500,000 to 750. I mean, you're talking in jumbo loan territory that
Yeah.
should be drastically affected, and it is affected. But look, I mean, you just jumped up 7% saturation. Even here, 29% now, going up to a million. And I mean, look at this. This is the crazy one.
That's
1 million to
nuts.
1.5 million. These are all, jumbo loans or cash deals. And
Yeah.
you jumped up 11%. 11%.
Nuts.
That is really, really, really telling. So for me, this is, I would almost rebadge this consumer confidence.
Exactly.
You can
Yeah, it
see
has to be.
people, I mean, there's a few more homes on the market, and yet the saturation's through the roof.
Yeah,
So
but
you can see that even on the high end.
yeah, look at that. You have 6 categories, right? Do I count that right? Six
Yeah.
buckets.
Yeah. Over here is
Five
1.5 plus.
Five of the six month on month had more inventory and still went up on a percentage basis. The only one that has slightly less inventory is the very bottom end. That's
Yeah.
amazing. Even the 1.5
Yeah.
plus, you have 13 more houses and yet
Yeah.
you went up 2%.
Yeah. And
That's
10 more are
amazing.
under contract at
Yeah.
1.5 plus. Right. So, like I said, especially, when you see these two categories,
You're
750
so
to
right.
1.5, you're dealing with much more educated, sophisticated buyers. On one hand, Wall Street's doing better, so people don't mind pulling out. Maybe some of these people are going, hey, this is a good time to take out my gains from the stock market and reinvest in real estate. That might be the logic going on there because
Yeah.
everyone's portfolios are back up and recovered, right?
Yeah.
But like I said, to me, this is this is going to be interesting moving forward to see how different price segments are reacting
Yeah.
because,
I'm
let's
curious.
say we do go into, Mhm.
Yeah, I'm curious, Brian, given that you've been doing this for 16 years, um, and I don't know, like if you live in Vegas, right? You've been in Vegas for 20, 30, 40 years, and you're going to go get your first time home. I'm guessing it's going to be one of
Mhm.
those first two buckets most of the time.
Yeah,
Is that
yeah.
fair?
I mean, yeah, no, for sure. I mean, most first-time home buyers are obviously going to be on the lower end. I
Okay.
mean,
And
the
then,
reality is,
yeah,
yeah, it's there are homes under 250,
sure.
but they're obviously not in the best areas. Your better areas are going to be more like 275
Okay.
for point of entry.
Yeah.
Um,
Because
so, but yeah, most people.
yeah, where
Oh,
I'm
sorry.
going with this is, and again, I'm just looking at the data and trying to get a story. One of the things that I
Hmm.
think is very likely for Las Vegas, really Nevada wide, is you're going to get an influx of Californians who want out of this stupid high income tax. So I'm wondering, you sell a
Right.
place in Orange County or LA or wherever. When you deal with California buyers, do they typically come to Vegas in one of those two categories, 750 to a million to 1.5? I
I
don't
mean,
know.
yeah, I can't make that assumption.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah,
because you
I don't know.
you have you have a multitude of buyers for different reasons, right? So
Mm,
you have on one end of this spectrum, you've got millennials now,
sure.
or the next generation Z. So you've got people that are graduating college, they're 3 years out. Look, you went to UCLA, you
Yeah.
got a job in LA, you feel like you're doing well because you got an 80 $100,000 job, and you barely can make rent in LA. And then
Yeah.
you met someone, and now you eventually want to start a family, and you realize that the cheapest condo is going to be $500,000.
Yeah.
you have no ability to create wealth for yourself. So a lot of younger people go, hey, if I can get a job in Vegas, at least I can actually own something and have a quality of life. Then you have people that are, middle-aged, that are just tired of the taxes in LA or California in general,
Mhm.
and they're looking to relocate, especially right now with so many
Yeah,
of these businesses that are able to work remotely.
exactly.
That's a huge paradigm shift. I mean, if you had to be in the Bay, then you have to pay those prices. But if I can do my job remotely and I can live anywhere,
Amen.
well, hell, Vegas is a fifth of the price, and I can just hop on a flight and be right there if I have to actually
Yeah.
physically be there. So, for those people in the middle, yeah, they're going to be looking more around that $500,000 range.
Mm,
And then you also have a lot of wealthy retirees.
mm.
Vegas has always been a haven for retirees. The weather is really good, as you get older. There's no humidity. And, for allergies, for a lot of reasons, people come to Vegas to retire. But
Mm.
most of all, I mean, like we've talked about, you bought that house in 1976 for $40,000,
Yeah.
and now it's worth 2.5 million,
Yep.
and it's a crummy little house. It just happens to be in the Bay. And
Yeah.
so you sell your 1,100 square foot little house, and I mean, you
There
can
you
have
go.
a mansion for half the price.
Yeah.
So you have across the board in different reasons. I have one client right now, very wealthy attorney. He lives in Calabasas. I mean, that's people dream of living in Calabasas.
Right.
And he's just fed up with the politics. He's fed up with the taxes. And at this point, he's winding down his career. And he just said, we are getting out of here as quick as possible. So he's buying like a mansion in Vegas, basically the same house that he has for, a third of the price. So you've got people all across the board that are moving here for different price ranges for different reasons.
Yeah.
But the question is just going to be, are we going to get a disproportionate amount of relocations? Are There's always been people coming. I mean, I moved here from California.
Mm.
Lots of people have moved here from California.
Right.
That's not new news. The question is, are we going to get a
Yeah.
disproportionate amount now?
Yeah.
The
Well, I
other
think the
issue,
answer is yes.
yeah, and I don't know that part. I don't have a finger on the pulse. You
Yeah.
know more because you're in California and you know what your friends and
It,
colleagues are
it is
saying.
a
I don't.
consistent topic, right? So I'm near 50, right? Just so the audience knows. We never talked about relocating to Vegas the last 20 years. I could say it's a weekly conversation from people now, whether it's Reno, right?
Yeah.
Geographically, Reno is closer to where I am, but Vegas is a
Right.
very common topic. So I know it's
Yeah.
real, and it's coming. So uh, as we wrap this up, I know you're tight on time. Any thoughts about what the numbers might look like for July? Because I think it's going to get nutty. Oh, lost you, buddy. Oh, looks like we lost Bryan. We'll just leave that as a teaser for next time.